Welcome to International Trade Minute, Quick Fire Trade News, the essential podcast for today's trade professionals, presented to you by Rydell Law Firm. If you're a seasoned practitioner, this is where you'll find your weekly distilled briefing on the pulse of international commerce and regulation. We bring you the latest legal and trade news, distilled into straightforward, bite-sized updates for busy trade professionals. Sponsored by Rydell Law Firm, this podcast is crafted by expert trade attorneys to keep you ahead of the curve with concise, actionable insights. Perfect for your morning commute or coffee break. Stay informed without the fluff. Subscribe now on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and join our professional community on LinkedIn. Today, we are exploring several key developments in international trade: a CIT ruling on unpaid duties, dismissal of fake honey import claims, IBM Bank's dual-use transactions, the impact of sanctions de-risking on NGOs, and IBM shutting down its R&D division in China. Let's get started. Starting with a significant development for importers, the Court of International Trade has rejected Katana Racing's motion to dismiss a case involving $5.7 million in unpaid duties on tires from China. This ruling, delivered by Judge Lisa Wang in her first opinion since confirmation, highlights the complexities surrounding importer liability and customs violations. The case stems from 386 entries of tires imported between 2009 and 2012, for which duties remained unpaid. Katana Racing claims these entries resulted from identity theft, with suppliers or individuals falsely declaring them as the importer of record. Judge Wang found genuine issues of material facts, particularly concerning the identity of the importer. This decision underscores the importance of clear documentation and proper identification in international trade transactions. The court's ruling also addressed several key points. It determined that the U.S. government adequately identified the level of culpability even without explicitly using the term negligence. Additionally, the court rejected claims that the government failed to exhaust administrative remedies or that the case was barred by laches. For trade practitioners, this case serves as a reminder of the critical nature of accurate record keeping and the potential long-term consequences of disputed imports. It also highlights the complexities of defenses such as identity theft and customs violation cases. As this case moves forward, it will likely provide valuable insights into how the Court of International Trade interprets importer liability and the standards for summary judgment in customs disputes. Stay tuned for further developments in this ongoing legal battle. Up next, in a recent ruling, a California court has dismissed a lawsuit filed by U.S. honey producers against their rivals over alleged imports of fake honey. The case, heard in the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of California, centered on claims made by 3 domestic honey producers, led by Henry's Bullfrog Bees. Judge Daniel Calabretta found that the plaintiffs failed to provide sufficiently specific factual allegations to support their fraud claims against the defendants, who included honey importers and distributors. Despite the lengthy nature of the amended complaint, the court noted that it lacked the necessary particularized details to substantiate the alleged fraud. The plaintiffs' claims targeted various groups, including certifiers, importers, and packers. However, the court determined that the allegations were largely conclusory and lacked the essential who, what, when, where, and how of the events in question. This ruling underscores the importance of presenting concrete, detailed evidence when bringing fraud claims in international trade disputes. Moving on to our next story, we have an update on the Export-Import Bank's dual-use transactions. In fiscal year 2023, the bank didn't approve any new transactions involving dual-use goods. However, they continue to monitor an existing transaction with the Mexican government. This particular deal involves satellites, specifically a fixed service satellite and a mobile service satellite, which became operational in 2013 and 2015, respectively. The Government Accountability Office reports that EXIM has received all required documentation from Mexico and has determined that the country is in compliance with the bank's dual-use policy. This ongoing monitoring demonstrates the bank's commitment to ensuring proper end use of financed dual-use goods, even as new approvals have slowed. Now, let's dive into a concerning development for international aid efforts. Non-governmental organizations are sounding the alarm on the unintended consequences of sanctions compliance. They report that the banking industry's overzealous approach to U.S. sanctions is leading to significant delays and cancellations in humanitarian aid transactions. Interaction, the largest U.S.-based alliance of international humanitarian NGOs, has highlighted a troubling trend. Despite a UN initiative in 2022 to create humanitarian carve-outs in sanctions regimes, some NGOs are experiencing a resurgence in block transfers. One member reported a 300% spike in delayed or blocked transfers since October 2023, primarily affecting transactions involving Yemen, Myanmar, Libya, and Afghanistan. These delays aren't just inconvenient, they're costly. NGOs are being forced to use alternative, more expensive financial channels, diverting funds from aid programs to cover transaction costs. One organization reported spending an additional $100,000 annually just to manage wrongly blocked transactions. Money that could have provided 20,000 school kits for displaced children. The impact extends beyond sanctioned jurisdictions. NGOs report challenges in sending funds to over 20 countries, including Pakistan and Sudan, with transfer delays averaging 1 to 4 weeks, sometimes stretching to 6 weeks. In response, these organizations are urging the Treasury Department to take action. They're calling for measures to promote financial inclusion and mitigate the effects of de-risking. Suggestions include requiring banks to consider the full risk picture of a customer, including any mitigating measures and applicable OFAC licenses. NGOs also recommend that Treasury encourage banks to seek additional information before canceling transactions and to rely more on the due diligence of originating banks in international transfers. These steps, they argue, could help strike a balance between effective sanctions enforcement and the critical need for humanitarian aid delivery. For our closing piece, in a significant development, IBM has announced plans to shut down its research and development division in China, a move that will impact over 1,000 employees. This decision marks a turning point in IBM's 40-year presence in the country and reflects a broader trend of U.S. companies reducing their footprint in China. According to reports, the closure will affect both the IBM China Development Lab and the IBM China System Lab. This move comes as China experiences an economic slowdown and U.S.-China relations continue to deteriorate. IBM's decision aligns with a growing strategy among U.S. companies known as friendshoring or reshoring. These practices involve relocating operations to more politically stable environments or back to home soil to secure supply chains and mitigate risks associated with geopolitical tensions. While IBM has stated that these changes won't affect its ability to support customers in China, the closure of its R&D facilities in the country is a clear indicator of shifting business priorities. This trend extends beyond IBM, with other major U.S. companies like Apple diversifying production away from China to countries such as India and Vietnam. The exodus of Western companies, combined with China's property crisis and demographic challenges, suggests that the days of double-digit growth in China may be over. For trade practitioners, this development underscores the need to closely monitor evolving business strategies and their potential impact on international trade patterns and supply chains. And that wraps up our quickfire trade news for today. We've covered a range of crucial topics from court rulings on unpaid duties to the impact of sanctions on humanitarian aid. Thanks for tuning in to International Trade Minute. We hope you found today's episode insightful and useful for your practice. Remember, our podcast is brought to you by Rydell Law Firm, your trusted partner in navigating international trade law. Don't miss our next episode. Subscribe now on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Stay connected and continue the conversation with us on LinkedIn. Until next time, stay informed and stay ahead.